part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give a shout out, as we always like to do when we start this, because without him, none of you hear this in the podcast. Here, our fantastic producer, Cordts, making sure all of this gets out to you. And Michael Reghi, let's see, what did I write? I wrote down a few words to describe the Cleveland Browns today. Dysfunctional, inept, hapless, embarrassing in their 34-13 loss to the Washington Commanders. Did I miss any?
Nope. Every one of those apply and paint the picture of just how absurdly bad this football team is performing, Ken. And it's really damn disheartening. I feel for the fans of this football team, and yet I wonder, I'll call myself out. I'm not sure what made me believe that this football team could be a 9-10 win team. I did. So evidently my belief in just about every facet of what they do is ill-founded once again. But they're a mess. They're a complete mess in many different areas. And of course it probably starts with Deshaun Watson. I mean, those on the playing roster, but we'll get into all of that. But to me, as I've told you before, to me, both Kevin Stefanski and even Andrew Berry, the man who put this roster together, have to accept some culpability in how bad this is too.
Reg, on paper, they looked good, right? The roster. We saw it, national publications saying top 3 roster, top 5 roster. It'll depend on Deshaun Watson coming back from the injury. If he's healthy, they'll be fine. The offensive line, if healthy, is good. Well, Reg, all of that's bullshit right now. Hey,
yep.
That's just all terrible. I mean, the offensive line is inept. It is one of the weakest parts, I think, of this football team. Jed Wills played today and looked like the old Jed Wills, a turnstile at left tackle. DeJuan Jones was not good. Hosek got hurt, and he doesn't look good as the center. 7 more sacks today, some on Watson, some on the offensive line. 212 yards, and most of those came in garbage time. Late when they scored their only touchdown of the game. And you're right. This goes on the front office. This goes on the coaching staff, ownership, quarterback, defensive end, O-line, linebacker, secondary, wide receiver, running back, tight ends, coaching, you name it. Everybody deserves blame for this 1-4 putrid football team.
Yeah, and look, I think we all know, sure, you don't have one of the top running backs in the NFL. But, Kenny, that cannot be used as a crutch for everything that is such ill-framed and out of shape about this football team in terms of their production. I mean, look, injuries are part of the game. No, you don't want to lose a guy like Nick Chubb. Yeah, it hurts to not have him. But, if you're going to try to sell to me, and I love Nick Chubb, I think everybody knows that. If you're trying to sell to me, though, that if Nick Chubb was there, that this football team would be a one-loss team instead of a 4-loss team, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. There's too many holes in other areas, in virtually every area of this football team. And Ken, I mean, can we stop this stuff about that this is again, I'm not trying, I get it. They probably now know that we've got to play lights out. I'm not talking about the defense, but can we stop about that this defense is, they're a rock-solid defensive unit that's one of the top 3-5 in the NFL. Well, if that's what they think they are, they sure are not playing and producing as such. Defensively, it's not good either. Not good.
Reg, the lack of tackling on this football team reminds me of a JV squad,
Yep.
playing the varsity and learning how to tackle and swinging and missing on every other tackle. Grant Delpit today had a chance for a tackle in the backfield if he wraps up the running back. Instead, he tries to bring him and misses, grabbing an ankle or whatever it was. Guy goes in for the touchdown. There were other missed tackles today. From top to bottom, this team just flat out stinks. I tweeted out today, and with the first pick of the 2025 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns select, and you can go ahead and pick somebody, because right now they're right up there with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the only team they beat, the Carolina Panthers, and any of the other crap teams in the National Football League.
Yeah, they are. And that saying that they're going to have a top 3, 5, it's not that absurd at this point. They very well might be in that position come the end of this 2024 season. And Kenny, you and I, we were both on the X about that today, and I kind of went off about the tackling, because I mean, these guys, I don't know if are they afraid now to lower their pads and hit and form tackle the way we were all taught as kids starting to play the game. No, they don't wrap up. Kenny, it's like they like to, grab jerseys with their hands and try to pull down a ball carrier or receiver. You notice that? Nobody hits and wraps up. I mean, I don't know how they believe that, they can execute tackling with the way they go about it. They all look to stand, none of them, they stand up and grab and try to pull somebody down. And you know what? It's just getting real old, and it's really a damn shame that hell, again, that they're allowed to continue to try to function this way. I mean, the offense is non-existent. The defense has taken, in my opinion anyway, like I just said, a large step back. And how many football games are there still to play?
Yeah, 12.
12 games to play. It's going down a real bad path real fast.
Reg, they've scored 17, 18, 15, 16, and today 13 points. They have yet to crack the 200, the 20-point mark. And
right.
Watson has trouble has he cracked 200 yards passing in a game this year?
No,
I'm trying to remember.
No, and the total offense has not had one game of 300 or more.
So there you go.
When most teams, Kenny, do that, most teams look at, wow, they had a rough day offensively. They only had 272 total yards.
Right.
Not this team. 272 would be like, you'd start a parade and a party, because it's offensively and scheme and concept.
Oh, geez.
Terrible.
Absolutely atrocious. 434 yards for the Washington Commanders, 212 for the Cleveland Browns today. And a lot of those, like I said, came in, mop-up time on the one drive where Akins catches the touchdown pass. And on fourth down, it took all the way to fourth down just to get that one. Sacked 7 times. He fumbles once. 125 yards, only 14 yards rushing. And I'll tell you what, Red, Jaden Daniels, man, that kid is, and I don't want to overreact, right? Because Baker had a great rookie year, and he had his ups and downs and is playing decent ball right now. But Jaden Daniels, I'll tell you what, man, he knows when to tuck it and run and get out of bounds. He knows when to dump it off. He throws a nice deep ball. Yes, he's a Heisman Trophy winner. That they hit, I think, the jackpot with him. We'll see. Only time will tell. But he combined for over 300 yards of total offense and 1 touchdown pass, and gave the Browns fits with his scrambling. They're averaging 30 points a game. The Browns are averaging 16 points a game. So I saw a stat on TV today, Michaels. I was doing the Stark County Browns backers at Jersey Sports Bar and Grill in Canton. Washington with 17 new starters, 33 new players, new ownership, new front office, new coaching staff. Well, guess what, Jimmy Haslam? You might want to take a page out of the Washington Commanders playbook moving forward, because you might have to do all of the above to get this team turned around and challenging in the AFC if this continues for another 2 or 3 games. And it doesn't get any easier with the Eagles, Bengals, Ravens, and Chargers before the bye week.
And what you're saying, Kenny, just because we're discussing all of a newness in a franchise, right?
Yep.
Coaching staff, players, and that many that you just laid out there with Washington, and that is a hell of a lot, right? That's a total redo that they put together. But don't try to say it's not possible for it to start looking real good right away.
Absolutely.
Because there you go. You've got the template for it in what the Washington Commanders are doing right now. And the Browns just absolutely, completely outclassed today. Looked like they didn't even belong on the same football field with this team that has just finished greeting each other and saying, "Hey, man, how you doing? Glad we're teammates," right?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's how new this football team is. And here they are off to a real strong start with a young quarterback that, LSU, SEC, Kenny, the kid to me, again, I'm not trying to anoint him Hall of Famer, don't get me wrong, but we can only go on what first appearances are, right?
Yep.
Because they give us our first impressions. So again, he got a long way to go, but I'm a believer in him. And the kid to me looks like he's going to be damn good at winning and in time, top 10 NFL quarterback.
Reds, I'm starting to wonder about Stefanski and quarterbacks. I'm starting to wonder about that, because the only quarterback who's played well for him, Baker had a good year, but Joe Flacco, and he was a veteran. I'm wondering about the development of quarterbacks or the offense that Stefanski is running, if he can fit his quarterback to the system or vice versa, because all Joe Flacco did today for the Colts, I think they lost, right? Indy came up a little short, but he threw for over 300 yards today again, 3 more touchdowns. Baker threw for 3 touchdowns the other night in a loss that Tampa shouldn't have lost. It wasn't his fault, though. I'm starting to wonder about Stefanski and quarterbacks and whether or not, he's, I know, 2-time coach of the year. And I said he shouldn't give up play calling because, he won the coach of the year twice doing it. But I'm starting to wonder about that because Ryan Day decided to give it up and brought in Chip Kelly, right? And it's working out fine for the Buckeyes. They're number 1 or number 2, depending on how you want to rank them in the country, and get ready for a huge game against Oregon. But I think it's good for Ohio State that Ryan Day is overseeing everything and not just focused on the offense like Kevin Stefanski.
Did you notice today, did you happen to, because I found it very compelling, did you see some of the looks? And I thought there was CBS today, wasn't it? Yeah, CBS. I thought their producers and directors did a hell of a job. Did you see some of the looks that Stefanski was giving to Sean Watson?
Yep.
And those exchanges between the two of them? Of course, I know right after the game, he said right away, Deshaun Watson's our quarterback and he's going to be fine. It will be fine. Well, sure. What else is he supposed to say? I'm telling you, he wasn't a happy head coach today with his quarterback. That was vastly evident in some of the, like I said, some of the looks and some of the shots that CBS got with, how about the time Watson, how about the time with a play clock running down? He just walked off the football field. And
right.
I don't know what he was going to do. Did he want to get into an argument with Stefanski? What was he going to do? I don't know. But, I mean, this whole thing, Kenny, I know damn junior high teams that look better in terms of at least what they're trying to do than this Browns organization does right now.
It's embarrassing, Michael. It really
is. It very much is.
From the offensive side, now the defensive side, they supposedly this week worked on tackling. Well, whatever they did, that shit didn't work. That was an absolute joke. I don't know how, you're not allowed to hit. So what did they do? Tackle, pads or what? It was just people with the Stark County Browns that place was empty by about the third quarter, Michael. People say, that's it. No chance.
I don't blame them.
I'm not sticking around. I'll go home, save my money, and watch the Guardians play some baseball on Monday in the ALDS against the Tigers and not waste any more money or time on this Browns team.
Yeah, they're becoming a real tough watch. And, let's be honest. I mean, Jimmy and Dee Haslam, they went out of their way to write this big check and make this, in their mind, bold move that was going to get this organization their quarterback that was going to win going forward. And listen, right now, he looks nothing, not even a shell of that quarterback that played. And that's the frustrating thing about it, Ken, right? I think we both agree. His last couple of years with the Houston Texans, he was he was a winning quarterback, and he was a productive quarterback, and you felt good about him leading your offense. Where has that guy gone, Kenny Roda?
No clue. No clue, mentally and physically. He looked slow. When Jaden Daniels busted out of the pocket, he was shot out of a canyon. When Deshaun Watson tried to get out of the pocket, and yes, there was a lot of pressure there, it's like he was running in quicksand. And the throws, the inaccuracy, the lack of speed, the lack of ability to read defenses. You know what? I'm done with him. I don't need to see any more of Deshaun Watson. I don't. I don't need to see any more of Deshaun Watson. I pulled the plug on Deshaun Watson. Trading deadline, Dolphins. You want him? Okay, let's work something out with his contract. You can have it. Anybody. If not, I'll cut his ass at the end of this year, eat the money just like the Broncos did with Russell Wilson, and move forward. I've seen enough of Deshaun Watson to know this ain't working in Cleveland. It's not happening anytime soon or in the future.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't appear to be. And look, I get it. That's who's the most popular man in any NFL city when a team is struggling. Well, that's the backup quarterback, right? I get it that a lot of people want to see Jameis Winston. We've seen a lot of Jameis Winston. Don't forget, he was a starter for what, 5-6 years in the National Football League. Yep. So I'm not knocking Jameis Winston. What I'm saying, though, Kenny, is to fans, and if you think that putting Jameis Winston in, and if you want to do it, go ahead. Go ahead, just to say, anybody else other than having to see Watson fail, fine. But that's not going to be the cure-all for this football team, because again, while the quarterback is always going to lead the way when fans are mad when things are going bad, as you and I've said a couple times tonight, there's a lot of other issues on this football team that I'm not even sure good quarterback play is going to turn into winning Sundays going forward. We'll see. But Kenny, I don't think that they're going to do that, though, right? So everybody's calling for him, unless it just gets so bad that he decides he wants to. Him saying, I don't want to do this anymore. Watson, And I don't know. They're in a bad way. They're in a bad way in the most important position in all of professional sports. And it doesn't give, much positivity or hope to as we look forward to things.
Reg, they could be, let's see here, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6, 1-7, 1-8. My good, what are they 1-4? They could be 1-8 at the bye week. Very easy.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's right now. And again, I'm the guy that said that they were going to go 10-7. I could easily see them being no more than a 5-win football team, Ken.
Yep.
Think about it, man. And to be a 5-win football team, I believe they got to win 4 more.
Right.
Did you see this football team winning 4 more games right now?
No.
I don't either.
No, it's bad. It's really, really bad. And it's only going to get worse. I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. It's only going to get worse because Watson's not the answer. That line is horrific. Nick Chubb, I don't care how good he is. There ain't no holes to run through for Nick Chubb, even though he seems to find creases, but he's, again, not going to be 100%. He's working his way back. So, the Browns fans, you're in for more. What did Mr. T say? What's your prediction? I'll give it to you for the Browns. Pain. That's what it's going to be the rest of this season for Browns fans, because this is going to be real bad the rest of the way. I said anywhere between 8 and 10 wins because I wasn't sure about the offense because they didn't play in the preseason. Well, I think 8's too high. Like you said, 5 might be the total that they struggle to get to by the end of this season and finish 5-12. That would be good based on what I'm seeing right now if they could go 5-12.
Kenny, can you imagine if this turns out to be a 5-win football team, 5-12, and you're saying how ugly it's going to be and heads are going to roll. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe the Haslams will try to unload the team to somebody and sell it too. I wouldn't mind that happening, Kenny,
I would
by the way.
But you know what, Reg? Even when they lose, they make too much damn money for that to happen, right? And get that new stadium and the parking and the hotels and all that stuff in Brook Park. So unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen unless somebody blows their socks off. So I think you're stuck with the Haslams. Blowing everything else up might be the only way to go, meaning Andrew Berry, eat the contract. Kevin Stefanski, eat the contract. Deshaun Watson, eat the contract, and pick and choose a select few, keep those players, and then be like the Washington Commanders and just start anew with starters and full rosters and coaching staff. Bill Belichick's out there, Reg, right?
I'm with you.
Bill Belichick's out there doing TV and podcasts and all that, commercials. Well, guess what? I'll take him over what they have going on.
No doubt. And I don't give a damn about people. Well, he's 74 I don't care.
Right.
That man has forgotten more football than 99% of those that have, been in the game, walking around. Look, that is the type of coach that's needed here. And Kenny, look, to me, don't do one without the other. This has got, to me, Stefanski and Berry are tied together, right? These are guys that, we're in lockstep. We've got the same belief for how do you got to get them both. Got to get rid of them both. Don't do Stefanski and keep Berry. That ain't gonna help nothing. Because I'm saying now, I was wrong about Andrew Berry. I was wrong about him. I gave him a lot of kudos and a lot of credit and what have you. But you know what? He put this football team together. Yes, this is him putting this football team together. And it's not near good enough. So, to me, I want to see both the general manager and the head coach be changed and get whether 2 guys in or, like you say, you brought in Bill Belichick. Hell, he'd do all that.
Why stop
him
there?
Whatever he wants and bring him in here.
Why stop there? Nick Saban's available too. Let's rekindle that
That's fine.
Coaching staff and bring both of those guys back in the organization. Why the hell not?
And those guys are, I'm sure they'd be just fine working together because they've done it in the past And, those are guys that they look at things through the prism of the same way when it comes to putting a football team together. So, hell, I'd be all for that, Ken. Sign me up.
Finish what you started, Bill and Nick. Get it done, right?
Yeah.
Didn't get that chance to, so we'll see, Reg. But all right, let's do this. Enough on the crappy Browns, okay? Let's get a break in here on R&R. And when we come back, let's talk about what's good in Cleveland, and that's your Cleveland Guardians, AL Central Division champs. They're in the ALDS. They have a 1-0 lead on the Motor City Kitties, and we're going to talk about the Game 1 win, preview Game 2 and the rest of this series, and tell you why I think they're going to end up playing the Yankees in the ALCS. Reg, we'll get into all of that when we come back on the Reghi and Roda podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we continue with the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Kenny Roda, Michael Reghi, R&R back together again, done with the Browns for this podcast. We're going to talk positivity. We're going to talk Cleveland Guardians baseball. They are in the ALDS with a 1-0 lead on the Detroit Tigers. And Michael Reghi, you talk about starting fast and making a statement. How about a 5 spot in inning 1 of game 1 of the ALDS? And a 7-0 shutout by the Guardians to take a 1-0 lead on Detroit.
Hell of a strong way to come out of the gate. Exactly the way you draw it up. I mean, if you're Stephen Vogt and Chris Antonetti and everybody else associated with that baseball team, and that's huge to get that first one, because now, Kenny, I think, I think it's only going to go 4 and the Guardians will win this. But even I think Detroit is probably, if they're down 2-1, and we'll see. I know it'd only be 3 days rest, but they may be forced to throw Tarek Skubal again. We'll get by game 2 first, right? Kenny, I do think Skubal, best pitcher in baseball, I think he'll get the Tigers their 1 win. Now, will that be tomorrow? Or, if it's not tomorrow, Detroit may get swept. Who knows? But, that yesterday was huge for what the Guardians needed to do, because can you imagine if they hadn't won that, and now you got to go try to beat Skubal in game 2? You don't want to be in that position. So they handled that exactly the way that you wanted them to. And now they've got themselves in a very, very advantageous position. So, At this point, after the game one win, Ken, I'm going to be absolutely dumbfounded, shocked if they don't win this series and move on.
Reg, I love the way Stephen Vogt managed game one, right? Tanner by his ace, gave him the start. He struggled in the first inning, 2 on, 2 out, got out of it, put a 0 up there, which I thought was huge, right? You're not playing from behind, and then they put a 5 spot up. And a lot of managers might have given their starter a chance to get that last out in the 5th inning to get the W. And Stephen Vogt said, nope. We're not giving them another chance through the lineup of seeing you, Tanner. You're struggling a little bit right now. I'm going to the strength of my team, which was the bullpen. And Cade Smith came in like a lawnmower and just mowed everybody down. And that bullpen finished the last 4 1/3 innings with Clase putting the cherry on top of the sundae for a shutout game one victory. I absolutely applaud Stephen Vogt in his first ever playoff game as a manager for putting the team first.
Yes.
Sure, they got the victory and not worrying about the feelings of his starting pitcher, Tanner Bybee.
I loved it. And if you are if you're a player that's got any form of ego, that you probably aren't going to be real happy. Because, like you said, he didn't give a damn about that sort of thing.
Yep.
He made the determination. Whether Carl Willis was a part of that or what, that Tanner Bybee maybe was losing a little bit of edge and was starting to run on fumes, and they didn't hesitate. Right? They made the move. You can't be worrying about stuff like, well, I'm get one more. The hell with that. This is October, man. You gotta go have put this team in the best position to win. So, I applaud those kind of things from Stephen Vogt, and I would hope that everybody that's part of that playing roster with the Guardians understands that listen, man, you gotta check your ego at the door now. Especially at this time of year. So all good beginning. And like I said, I really think they're gonna win this in 4. I think Scooble will get him tomorrow. I mean, if he pitches the way he has been, I mean, he's going to be very difficult to beat. Not saying the Guardians can't. We know they can. But I do feel he's the best pitcher in baseball, and he's proven that throughout the course of the year. So, we'll see. Maybe the Guardians will take that as, tomorrow being the ultimate challenge, and we're going to go out and beat the best pitcher in baseball. And it's going to be an intriguing matchup tomorrow with Scooble on the mound, Kenny.
Reg, is this Scooble's first playoff start that you know of?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's why I think they've got a chance to beat him. And if they do so, it'll have to be in this game. Remember when Shane Bieber started? First playoff game, he struggled, right? You're a little amped up. You're a little overhyped. You've had so many days rest. You're not in your normal flow or your normal routine and everything. So I think this is the game if they're going to beat him, because if it goes 5, they're going to face him twice. I'd like to avoid 5. I'd like it to go 3, no more than 4. But I think this is the game where you can beat him, where he might be off just enough, where you get to him if you can get to 3, maybe 4 runs off of him. They had 10 hits in the one game he did pitch against them. They just didn't score any runs earlier this year. He only pitched once against them. Right. So hopefully they ride the good vibes of the game 1 win. Lane Thomas with a blast into the bleachers. Jose, I thought that was a base hit. They called it an error, whatever. He made a positive impact on the offense. Same with, Naylor at first base. So I'd like to see them, get a 4-3, 3-2 win in game 2. And then all they got to do is split in Detroit and wrap that sucker up. I think they do. I think they're going to play the New York Yankees in the ALCS. I just think the 2 best teams all season long, Michael Reghi, in the American League were who? The New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians, right? All season. From April 6th on for the Guardians, they were either tied for first place or in first place. So to me, I think the two best teams are going to end up playing each other in the ALCS, which is a best of 7. And I'll tell you what, watching New York, looking at the starting pitching for New York is not what it used to be or where they want it to be. And I like the bullpen of the Guardians better. And if Matthew Boyd, who's going in game 2, and Alex Cobb, 2 veterans, can give the Guardians 5 innings each every time they pitch in the postseason, and then you turn it over to that bullpen, Guardians got a shot at getting to the World Series, Michael Reghi.
Well, yeah, they do. I like the bullpen better. Garrett Cole is still quality. Carlos Rodon has had an excellent year for the Yankees. Those guys are going to be tough to beat. But the Guardians Yankees, that could be a classic ALCS. Maybe it would go, 7 games, and I think the baseball world would love that. But I think the Indian Guardians have a feeling now that the way they're playing baseball right now, that they welcome all challenges.
Yeah.
And can play and win against anybody, and it's good because look, at the beginning of the year, Kenny, I guess we did talk about it here on R&R. I didn't expect them to be this good a baseball team.
Right.
Not this good.
No, me neither. I didn't expect them to be a playoff team, Michael. And I want to correct myself. Coming into this year, Skubal had not pitched in a postseason game. He pitched in a wild card game already this season, went 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs. So this
that's right.
Yeah,
You're right. How can we forget a week ago? I was thinking about anything prior to this year.
Right, yeah. So that's my bad.
But you're right. He started and got the win in the wild card game.
But this is a little different level, right? We're talking ALDS, against the guard. Still, though, he has one under his belt and he performed well, and they saved him, right? By only throwing him 6 innings and everything. So I stand corrected on that. So maybe it won't have as much of an effect on him like it did Shane Bieber when it was his first start, and everything. But I still think if you're going to get him, this is the one. You're in your ballpark, right? You got your crowd. And let's see if to me, the 2 Cy Young leaders are going, in game 2. It's going to be Tarek Skubal for Detroit. And then if they need a 9th inning save situation, it'll be Emmanuel Clase for the Guardians. I think they should finish 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, I know this. I think it would be hard to argue for anybody. You're talking about the best starting pitcher and the best closer.
Yep.
Unquestionably, in my mind, for each in all of baseball this year. So that in and of itself has got a lot of intrigue to it, and I think there's the Guardians' big key to victory. Can you get that lead and at least keep that 1-run lead? And who knows, maybe Stephen Vogt, let's say, Kenny, they're up 3-2, 4-3 going into the 8th. Does Stephen Vogt then ask Emmanuel Clase, you need to get us 6 outs?
It's a possibility, right? Especially.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is that Clase is more than capable. And yeah, this is when you pull that plug if you feel necessary, And again, you're talking about the best closer in the game. Yeah. That's like, if you remember, Kenny, in October's past, remember how many times after all year long, just enter Sandman in the 9th inning?
Yeah.
Remember how many times in October, all of a sudden, Mariano Rivera was getting 5, if not 6 outs?
Absolutely.
Meaning he came in the 8th inning.
Yep.
So, hey, Clase, I believe he's very well equipped to do exactly the same thing, and I'd be very surprised. I can't see Stephen Vogt maybe letting a game get tied or fall behind in the 8th with anybody other than Clase on the mound. I really can't.
Well, that's a possibility, and he's got to feel good with him there if he needs to go that route. But I need Jose. If Jose wants to be a Hall of Fame baseball player, Reg, this is when you really make a name for yourself. Hey, the regular season stats are great, and he almost was 40, and all that. But hey, this is where you separate yourself, right? Along with all the other good players that put up regular season stats. He's got to have some impactful moments in the postseason. And this is where, against a guy like Scooble, you need Jose to step up and blast a 2 or 3 run jack, or come through with a bases loaded double, or get that big hit off the best pitcher in baseball. Mano y mano, best against the best. This is where you separate yourself. And I'm hopeful that Jose is up to the challenge, but I don't want him gripping that bat so tight like he did for most of August and September, Michael, and trying to do too much. Just like Pete Alonso the other night. What did Alonso do? Pitch was outside. He went with the pitch, hit it over the right field fence for a home run. Hit it where it's pitched. Don't try and pull everything, and just relax and do what you do all season long.
Well, exactly. And you're so right about, man, you do it in October, and that's what you can say what you want about, and we said Reggie Jackson, for example.
Yep.
Kenny, I mean, unquestionably the guy is one of the top power hitters in the game, but every October he produced, whether he's with the Oakland A's and then with the New York Yankees.
Yep.
I mean, he won 6 World Series with those 2 teams. So, I mean, look, yes, 100% yes. This is when you can have a bit of a lackluster year if you're a guy like Jose Ramirez. And I'm not saying it was. Jose had a good year. But yeah, man, this is where you really cement yourself. You got to be able to do it in October. And that's why forever, Reggie Jackson, a lot of guys, haters. Shit. Nobody did it better than Reggie Jackson in the month of October. I don't see how anybody could challenge or argue that. Jose Ramirez got a chance, and Jackson did it multiple years, right, Kenny? Multiple years with 2 different teams.
Yep.
Jose need to have the first one right now, and to, like I said, show everybody why he's one of the top players in baseball. And as you said, going even further then when you do that, that's when guys start to get, the Hall of Fame stuff and one of the best that's ever played and what have you, right? Do it in October when the lights are shining the brightest in Major League Baseball. I believe he's capable. I know he's capable, but, it'd be great if it started tomorrow.
Reg, before we get out here, I just want quick thoughts from you on Terry Francona going to the Cincinnati Reds and returning for the 2025 baseball season. Catch you by surprise?
Nope, doesn't surprise me at all, because I never bought the look. The only reason I think he stepped away, Kenny, is because I think, whether it was his team of doctors, I think people told him it'd be best for you health-wise to step aside right now and get yourself, squared away. Okay. But Ken, I don't know. I never once did I think the man was done. I never once because this is this not the ultimate baseball lifer? I mean, hell, I remember him. I was calling the Baltimore Orioles when he started as a manager with the Philadelphia Phillies back in the late 90s. I don't know if you remember that. But that's where it started for Tito as a manager. And then, of course, how many did he win in Boston? How many World Series did he win with the Red Sox?
He got 2.
3.
2 of them.
2, yeah. Okay. But, I mean, look, he's one of the best that's ever done it from that top step of the dugout. And no, it doesn't surprise me in the least And he obviously thinks that, Cincinnati has got the type of team that he can be very successful with. A guy like him is not going to go to a team that doesn't have the requisite type of roster, right, that he thinks he can win with. So, doesn't surprise me at all, and I think it's going to be a hell of a good watch. And so he's staying here in Ohio, and so that the Guardians fans are going to be checking that Reds team out very closely, right?
They are, but I think they're happy with the guy they got to replace him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, and this now, Stephen Fote doesn't have to worry about looking over his shoulder anymore on whether or not, if it doesn't go well, will they bring Tito back? No, he's managing. He's got a 3-year deal with a club option for a 4th in Cincinnati. So, Stephen Vogt, this is your team, and he should be manager of the year in the American League. And let's hope he can do something no other manager's done since 1948 this year, and that's win a damn World Series in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vogt's cool. He's not going anywhere. I think he's going to be the manager here for, dare I say, long as he wants to be.
Let's hope so. Let's hope that's a long, long time with plenty of victories and celebrations with the baseball team. All right, Reg, we'll get out of here for this week's edition of the R&R podcast. We'll reconvene next week, and we'll see if the Cleveland Browns are 1-5 or 2-4, and we'll see if the Guardians have advanced on into the ALCS.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting week in Berea too, isn't it? Wow.
Oh boy.
So I got there might be some fireworks going off there, Kenny, this week, and not good ones. And I'm with you. We'll get it all going again next Sunday.
Sounds great. And thanks again to everybody out there for your loyalty, listening to the R&R podcast and staying with Michael and yours truly over the years. We appreciate that very, very much, I should say more than you can imagine. It means a lot to us that we're still doing this and you're still listening. And thanks again to our producer, Ty Cordts, for putting this all together so you can catch the R&R podcast. Make sure you subscribe on the Press Play Podcast Network, so whenever we do put a podcast out, you're notified. If not, hey, you can find us anywhere podcasts are posted, or just ask your smart device and she or he will help you with the R&R podcast.